The champagne flowed like liquid gold under crystal chandeliers. I stood at the edge of the ballroom, watching my daughter smile for the cameras. 25 years, and I'd never seen Taryn look so beautiful, or so hollow. The wedding reception sprawled across the terrace of the cliffside manor, overlooking the Pacific. 200 guests in designer clothes clinked glasses and laughed too loudly. Ethan Lawson, my new son-in-law, worked the room like a politician, his hand perpetually on Taryn's lower back, guiding her, controlling her. I'd flown in from Seattle 3 days ago. Architecture had kept me away for years. First the marriage, then the separation from Taryn's mother, then the work that consumed me. Catherine had been gone 5 years now. Cancer. I'd thrown myself into designing buildings while my daughter grew up in my absence. Now here she was, married to a tech millionaire I barely knew. The music shifted. A waltz. Ethan led Taryn onto the dance floor, and the crowd parted like the Red Sea. They moved together perfectly, rehearsed, artificial. Her white dress swept the polished wood, and his tailored suit probably cost more than my first car. I took a sip of whiskey, letting the burn ground me. Beautiful ceremony, wasn't it? Rhea Turner appeared at my elbow. She'd been Catherine's best friend, had known Taryn since birth. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. Picture perfect, I said. Too perfect. She glanced at the dancing couple. Have you talked to her much? Not really. She's been busy. Victor. Rhea's voice dropped. Something's wrong. I've known that girl her whole life. This isn't happiness. Before we continue, we ask you to hit the hype button, subscribe, and like the video to help the channel grow. Tell us which city you are from in the comments. We would like to get to know our audience better. Before I could respond, a waiter bumped into Taryn. Red wine exploded across the white marble floor, splashing up onto her dress and, somehow, onto my shirt. The music stopped. Everyone turned. Us. Oh God, Dad, I'm so sorry. Taryn rushed over, napkins in hand. Ethan followed, his jaw tight. It's fine, sweetheart. Just a shirt. Let me help. She dabbed at the stain, her hands trembling. Come with me. There's a bathroom down the hall. We walked away from the crowd. I could feel Ethan's eyes on my back. The bathroom was pristine, all white marble and gold fixtures. Taryn locked the door behind us. Taryn, what's... She pressed a folded napkin into my hand. Not to clean the wine. Something was wrapped inside. I unfolded it carefully. A note. In her handwriting. Dad, I need your help. I looked up. Tears streamed down her face, cutting through her makeup. Sweetheart, what's going on? I can't talk here. He's always watching. She wiped her eyes quickly. Tomorrow. The coffee shop on Harborview Street. 10 a.m. Please. Of course, but... A knock. Ethan's voice. Everything okay in there? Taryn's face transformed. The tears vanished, replaced by a bright smile. She unlocked the door. All good. Dad's shirt will need dry cleaning, but we got most of it. She kissed my cheek, whispered, Don't tell him, and swept past Ethan back to the reception. Ethan lingered in the doorway. His smile was warm, but his eyes were calculating. Sorry about that, Victor. These waiters are usually more careful. Accidents happen. Still, it's embarrassing. He straightened his tie. You heading back to Seattle soon? Thought I'd stick around a few days. Haven't seen much of Taryn lately. Something flickered across his face. Annoyance? Fear? Of course. Family time. We'd love to have you over for dinner before you leave. I'd like that. He nodded and walked away. I stood there, wine-stained and confused, holding my daughter's desperate note. The reception continued until midnight. I watched Ethan accept congratulations, saw him touch Taryn constantly, her arm, her shoulder, her hand. Possessive touches, controlling touches. And I saw how she flinched, so subtle that no one else noticed. But I noticed. Back in my hotel room, I spread the napkin on the desk and read the note again under the lamp. Dad, I need your help. 5 words. My daughter had never asked me for help before. She'd been independent, strong, self-sufficient. Even after Catherine passed, Taryn had handled everything herself. What had changed? I thought about the wedding. The ceremony had been flawless. Taryn had said her vows clearly, without hesitation. But when the priest said, "You may kiss the bride," I'd seen it. The briefest moment where she'd closed her eyes, not in anticipation, but in resignation. I poured another whiskey and stood at the window, watching the ocean. Waves crashed against the rocks below, relentless and dark. 10 a.m. couldn't come fast enough. The coffee shop was nearly empty when I arrived at 9:45. I chose a corner table with a view of the door and ordered black coffee. The morning fog hadn't lifted yet, turning the harbor into a gray void. Taryn arrived at 10 exactly. She wore jeans and a sweater, her hair pulled back, no makeup. She looked younger, vulnerable. "Hey, Dad." She sat down quickly, glancing at the door. "Hey, sweetheart." She ordered a latte she didn't drink. Her hands twisted around the cup, knuckles white. "I don't know where to start." "The beginning's usually good." She laughed, but it was bitter. The beginning was 3 years ago. I met Ethan at a fundraiser. He was charming, successful, everything Mom would have wanted for me. We dated for 6 months before he proposed. That's fast. I know. But everyone loved him. Rhea, the family, everyone said I was lucky. She finally looked at me. I said yes because I thought I was supposed to. "Taryn, let me finish, please." She took a shaky breath. "A month before the wedding, I met someone else, at a conference in New York. His name is Thomas Brennan. He's an architect, actually. You'd like him." My stomach dropped. I fell in love with him, Dad. Real love. The kind where you can't breathe when they're not around. But by then, the wedding was planned, deposits paid, everyone excited. I couldn't back out. "You absolutely could have." "Could I?" Her eyes flashed. "Mom was gone. You were in Seattle. Ethan's family had already merged their business with mine. The contracts were signed. Breaking it off would have destroyed everything." "So you married him anyway?" "I married him, and I've been miserable every single day since." She leaned forward. "But that's not why I need your help." I waited. "Ethan isn't who everyone thinks he is. He's been using me, Dad. Using my connections, my family's money, my mother's estate. He's been moving funds around, making investments in my name without telling me. When I confronted him about it last month, he said I didn't understand business, that I should trust him." "Did you get proof?" "Some. Bank statements, emails. But I don't understand half of it. He's too smart, too careful." She pulled out her phone, scrolled through screenshots. "Look at this. $3 million transferred from Mom's trust fund to one of his offshore accounts. And this? He put the family beach house under his company's name. I didn't even know until I saw the deed." I studied the images. My training as an architect had taught me to see patterns, to understand structures. Financial structures weren't that different. "This is fraud." "I know, but if I confront him, he'll deny it. He has lawyers, accountants, people who'll back him up. I'm just his wife who doesn't understand business." "You're more than that." "Am I?" Her voice broke. "I planned events, Dad. Parties and fundraisers. I'm not equipped for this. But you are. You've dealt with contracts, negotiations, complex projects. You know how to outthink people." I sat back, processing. "What exactly are you asking me to do?" "Help me get free. Help me expose him for what he is. I want out of this marriage, but I need proof that will stand up in court. Proof that he's been manipulating everything." She grabbed my hand. "I know we haven't been close. I know I pushed you away after Mom passed. But you're the only person I trust to do this right." The weight of her request settled on my shoulders. My daughter, trapped in a marriage she never wanted, asking her absent father to save her. "Where's Thomas in all this?" She smiled sadly. "Waiting. He knows about Ethan. He's been patient, but I can't ask him to wait forever. I need to resolve this before I can move forward." "Does Ethan suspect anything?" "About Thomas? No. About me wanting out? Maybe. He's been more controlling lately, more possessive. Yesterday at the reception, when I gave you that note, he asked me about it. I told him I was apologizing for the wine. He didn't believe me, but he let it go. He'll be watching me now. I know, that's why we have to be careful." She slid a USB drive across the table. "Everything I have is on here. Bank statements, emails, documents. Start there. But Dad, we can't take too long. I don't know how much more of this I can handle." I pocketed the drive. "I'll figure this out, Taryn. I promise." "Thank you." She stood, leaned down, and kissed my forehead. "I have to go. Ethan thinks I'm at the gym." She left quickly, disappearing into the fog. I sat there, coffee cold, thinking about the man who'd stolen my daughter's life. Ethan Lawson. 26 years old, self-made millionaire, charming smile, calculating eyes. He'd fooled everyone, including me, but now I saw him clearly, and he had no idea what was coming. I spent the rest of the day in my hotel room, going through Taryn's files. The USB drive contained 3 years of financial records, emails, and scanned documents. The deeper I dug, the clearer the pattern became. Ethan was brilliant. He'd been systematically moving money from Taryn's accounts into shell companies, investment funds, and offshore holdings. Nothing obvious. Everything looked legitimate on the surface. Business expenses, investments, standard transactions. But when you tracked the flow, it all led back to him. He'd also been isolating Taryn. Emails showed how he'd encouraged her to distance herself from friends, to focus on their future together. He'd convinced her to sell her event planning business, claiming it was too stressful. The proceeds had gone into a joint account he controlled. By 6 p.m., my eyes burned from the screen. I needed fresh air and perspective. The harbor walk was crowded with tourists and locals. I walked until I found a quiet bench overlooking the water. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. My phone rang. Unknown number. Mr. Hayes? A man's voice, smooth and professional. Speaking. This is Rylan Blackwood. Rhea Turner suggested I call you. She said you might need investigative services. I'd known Blackwood years ago, back when we'd worked together on a project involving insurance fraud. He'd left architecture to become a private investigator. Rhea has good timing. She said it was urgent. Can we meet? Harborview Bar, 8 o'clock. I'll be in the back booth. He hung up. I returned to the hotel, showered, and changed. At 7:45, I headed to the bar. It was the kind of place where people minded their own business. Dark wood, dim lighting, classic rock playing low. Blackwood sat in the last booth, nursing a beer. He'd aged well, his gray hair making him look distinguished rather than old. Victor. He stood, shook my hand. His grip was firm. Rylan. Been a while. 10 years, maybe more. He gestured to the seat. Rhea was cryptic, but she made it sound serious. I showed him the USB drive. My daughter married a man who's been systematically stealing from her. I need to know everything about him, his business, his contacts, his secrets, everything. Ethan Lawson. I've heard of him. Tech sector, right? That's what he tells people. Blackwood plugged the drive into his laptop, scrolled through files. His expression darkened. This is sophisticated. He's using legitimate business structures to hide the theft. You'd need a forensic accountant to prove it in court. I have one lined up, but I need more. I need leverage. What kind of leverage? The kind that destroys him completely. Professionally, socially, financially. I want him exposed for exactly what he is. Blackwood closed the laptop. That's not investigation. That's war. Then let's call it war. He studied me. You're different than I remember. Angrier. I'm a father protecting his daughter. Fair enough. He finished his beer. I'll start tonight. Give me a week. I'll find everything there is to find on Ethan Lawson. I might not have a week. Then I'll work faster. He stood. One question. When we expose him, there'll be fallout. Legal, financial, social. Your daughter will be in the middle of it. Is she ready for that? She asked for my help. She's ready. Good. Because once we start, there's no going back. He left. I sat there, finishing my drink, thinking about the point of no return. I'd already crossed it the moment I read Taryn's note. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Stay away from my wife. I stared at the message. Ethan. He knew about the coffee shop meeting. Maybe he'd followed Taryn, or maybe she'd been careless. Either way, the gloves were off. I typed back, she's my daughter. The response came immediately. She's my wife. Remember that. I deleted both messages and paid my tab. Outside, the night had turned cold. The fog rolled in thick, reducing visibility to a few feet. I walked back to the hotel carefully, aware of every sound, every shadow. Ethan was watching. Good. Let him watch. In my room, I made a list. Everything I knew about Ethan, everything I needed to find out, every weak point in his armor. The man was smart, but he'd made mistakes. Everyone did eventually. My phone rang again. Taryn. Dad, he knows. About us meeting. He's furious. What did you tell him? That I ran into you at the coffee shop, that we talked about Mom? He didn't believe me, but what could he say? Her voice was tight with fear. He's been pacing all evening, making phone calls in his study. Something's wrong. Did he threaten you? Not directly, but he said we need to be more careful about appearances. The people might get the wrong idea if I'm sneaking around meeting you. Taryn, if you feel unsafe, I'm fine, just rattled. He's never been this paranoid before. Good. Paranoid people make mistakes. Let him worry. She laughed quietly. Okay. But Dad? Be careful. Ethan's connected. He has friends in law enforcement and politics. If he sees you as a threat, he won't play fair. Neither will I. After she hung up, I stood at the window again, watching the fog swallow the city. Somewhere out there, Ethan Lawson was making his own plans, securing his own defenses. But he didn't know who he was dealing with. I'd spent 48 years learning patience, strategy, how to build things that last. Now I'd use those same skills to tear down everything he'd built. The war had begun. Ryland Blackwood called 3 days later. We need to meet. Not at a bar this time. He gave me an address in the industrial district, an old warehouse converted into office space. I drove there at dusk, checking my mirrors for tails. The building was mostly empty, just a few startups and creative agencies. Blackwood's office was on the 3rd floor. Spartan, desk, chairs, filing cabinets, and a wall covered in photographs and documents connected by red string, like something from a crime show. Welcome to my chaos, he said, gesturing at the wall. I stepped closer. Photos of Ethan at various events, meetings, dinners, documents with highlighted sections, bank statements, property records. You've been busy. I have contacts, people who owe me favors. He tapped a photo of Ethan with an older man. This is interesting. Gerald Morrison, CEO of Morrison Tech Holdings. They've been in business together for 2 years. Morrison's company has been acquiring smaller tech firms, consolidating market share. Ethan's been helping with the acquisitions. Legal? Barely. They've been using insider information, manipulating stock prices, forcing competitors out. Nothing you could prove in criminal court, but enough to raise questions. Keep going. Ethan's personal finances are a mess. He projects wealth, but most of it's borrowed. He leveraged Taryn's family assets to secure loans for his business ventures. If those ventures fail, her family loses everything. I felt my jaw tighten. What ventures? Cryptocurrency, mainly. High-risk investments that could pay off big or crash completely. He's gambling with her inheritance. Anything else? Blackwood pulled out a folder. Personal life. He's clean on that front. No affairs, no scandals. But I found something odd. Before Taryn, he was engaged to another woman, Caroline Mitchell. Wealthy family, similar background. The engagement ended suddenly, and Caroline moved to Europe. Did you talk to her? Tried. She won't return calls. But I found her roommate from that time. She said Caroline left because Ethan became controlling and unstable. Her words. Pattern recognition. That's what architecture taught you. See one arch, it's just an arch. See it repeated, it's a pattern. It's structural. He's done this before. Looks like it. Find wealthy woman, charm her, gain control of her assets, then what? Caroline got out before finding out. Taryn's not so lucky. I studied the wall. What's his weak point? His ego. He thinks he's untouchable. That confidence makes him careless. Blackwood pointed to another document. Last month, he had a meeting with Morrison. They were overheard discussing a merger that hasn't been publicly announced. If that information got out before the official announcement, there'd be SEC investigations. Do you have proof? Working on it. But Victor, if we're going down this road, we need to be smart. Ethan has resources. He'll fight back. Let him. Blackwood sighed. All right, but we need more than just financial crimes. We need something personal, something that turns public opinion against him. Right now, he's the golden boy. Self-made millionaire, charitable donations, perfect marriage. We need to crack that image. I'll handle that part. How? By giving him exactly what he wants, a reason to show his true colors. I left the warehouse with copies of everything Blackwood had found. In my car, I sat in the darkness, formulating the next phase. Ethan thought he was in control. He'd built his empire on manipulation and charm, but buildings have foundations, and foundations can be undermined. You just have to know where to dig. I called Taryn. Can you get me an invitation to Morrison Tech's charity gala next week? Probably. Why? I want to meet Gerald Morrison, and I want Ethan to see me doing it. She understood immediately. You're going to make him paranoid. I'm going to make him desperate. Desperate people reveal themselves. Dad, that's dangerous. I know, but it's necessary. Can you do it? A pause. I'll have the invitation sent to your hotel. Thank you, sweetheart. Dad, don't underestimate him. Ethan's smart. If he realizes what you're doing, he won't, not until it's too late. I hoped that was true. The next few days, I positioned myself carefully. I had lunch at restaurants Ethan frequented. I took meetings with local business people, letting word spread that I was considering relocating to California. I made sure Ethan heard about every interaction. The invitation arrived. Black tie, Morrison Tech Charity Gala, Saturday evening. I rented a tuxedo and prepared my approach. Saturday came. The gala was at an oceanfront mansion, valets and champagne, string quartet playing Vivaldi. I arrived fashionably late, scanning the crowd. Ethan spotted me immediately. He stood near the bar with Taryn on his arm. She wore an emerald gown, her hair swept up. She looked beautiful and miserable. I walked past them without acknowledgement, heading straight for Gerald Morrison. The CEO stood surrounded by admirers, holding court. I waited for a break in conversation. Mr. Morrison, Victor Hayes, I followed your company's growth with interest. He turned, assessed me quickly. Hayes, the architect? Retired, but yes. I've seen your work. That convention center in Portland is remarkable. He shook my hand warmly. What brings you to our event? My daughter just married Ethan Lawson. I'm getting to know the community. Ah, Ethan's father-in-law. He's spoken highly of you. Has he? I smiled. We should have dinner sometime. I'm considering some investments, and I'd value your perspective on the tech sector. Morrison's eyes lit up. Money has that effect. I'd be delighted. Have my assistant set something up. We exchanged cards. The entire interaction took 3 minutes. But when I glanced back, Ethan was staring at me, his face pale. Perfect. I worked the room for another hour, making connections, dropping hints about investment opportunities. Everywhere I went, Ethan's eyes followed. He couldn't approach me without making a scene, but I could feel his fury building. Finally, he cornered me on the terrace. Victor, enjoying yourself. Beautiful event. You and Taryn must be proud. What were you talking to Morrison about? Business, investments, the usual. I sipped my champagne. He's an impressive man. I can see why you work with him. Ethan's jaw clenched. We're partners, exclusive partners. Of course, I'm not looking to interfere, just exploring options for my retirement funds. Your retirement funds. 40 years in architecture builds up savings. I'm looking for high-yield opportunities. Morrison mentioned some interesting ventures. It was complete fabrication. Morrison and I had discussed nothing substantive, but Ethan didn't know that. What kind of ventures? He said he'd explain over dinner. We're meeting next week. Ethan's hand tightened around his glass. You're meeting again. Unless that's a problem? No, no problem. But his voice said otherwise. Just surprised you're suddenly so interested in tech. Architecture and technology aren't that different. Both about building something that lasts. I met his eyes. Or watching it come down when the foundation's weak. He understood the implication. His smile hardened. Foundations are my specialty, Victor. I make sure things are built solid. Do you? Because I've been reviewing some structures lately. Some look better than they actually are. All facade, no support. We stood there, two men speaking in metaphors, each knowing exactly what the other meant. Taryn appeared, saving us from escalation. There you are. Dad, I want you to meet some friends. She took my arm, led me away. Once we were out of earshot, she whispered, What are you doing? Rattling him. You're going to make him explosive. That's the idea. She stopped walking, looked at me with concern and something like pride. You've really thought this through. Every detail. What happens when he figures out you don't actually have retirement savings to invest? By then, it won't matter. The damage will be done. We rejoined the party. I made more introductions, collected more cards, planted more seeds of doubt in Ethan's mind. By the time I left, he was drinking heavily, his composure cracking. Ryland Blackwood was waiting in my hotel lobby. How'd it go? Perfectly. He's panicking. Good, because I found something. He handed me a manila envelope. Caroline Mitchell, the ex-fiancée. She agreed to talk. Phone call recorded with permission. You need to hear this. Back in my room, we listened to the recording. Caroline's voice was soft but steady. Ethan seemed perfect at first. Charming, attentive, successful. We got engaged after 8 months. Then things changed. He started controlling everything, who I saw, where I went, how I spent money. He moved into my apartment, started going through my mail, my computer. When I confronted him, he said he was protecting me, that I didn't understand the world like he did. Blackwood's voice on the recording. What made you leave? He tried to get me to sign papers, legal documents that would give him access to my trust fund. He said it was for tax purposes, but when I showed them to my lawyer, they were basically signing over control of my assets. I refused. That's when he became scary. Scary how? He didn't yell. That would have been easier. He just got cold, told me I was making a mistake, that I'd regret it. The next day, money started disappearing from my accounts. Small amounts at first, then larger. He denied it, said I must have spent it and forgotten. But I knew. How did you get out? My father threatened legal action. Ethan backed off immediately. He can't afford scandals. So I left the country, and he found another target. The recording ended. "She means Taryn," I said quietly. "She does? And Victor, there's more. I traced those missing funds. Ethan had Caroline's account passwords. He'd been slowly draining them while gaslighting her into thinking she was crazy. Can she testify? She's willing, if we protect her identity until we're ready to move." I stood, paced the room. The pieces were aligning. Financial fraud, a pattern of abuse, witnesses, evidence. "How long until we have everything?" "A week, maybe 2. We need Morrison's insider trading proof. That's the hammer that breaks everything." "Then we have 2 weeks to keep Ethan off balance." My phone buzzed. A text from Taryn. "He's asking questions about you, about your finances, your plans. Be careful." I showed Blackwood. "He's investigating you now," Blackwood said. "That's good. Means he's worried. But also means we need to be careful. If he finds out what we're really doing, he won't, because there's nothing to find. I'm just a concerned father asking questions. For now. But Victor, once we make our move, there's no taking it back. Ethan will lose everything. His business, his reputation, his marriage. Men like that don't go quietly." "I'm counting on it." After Blackwood left, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. Catherine would have handled this differently. She'd been diplomatic, always found peaceful solutions, but Catherine was gone, and Taryn was trapped. And sometimes the only way to save someone was to tear down the walls around them, even if you had to get your hands dirty. The next week was psychological warfare. I had lunch with Morrison and his associates. Casual meetings, nothing substantive discussed, but Ethan heard about each one. I attended tech sector networking events, asked questions about cryptocurrency investments, made it clear I was interested in the same markets Ethan operated in. Every interaction was carefully calculated to make him paranoid. Ryland called on Tuesday. "Morrison's getting suspicious. He's asking his people why you're suddenly so interested in tech." "What are they telling him?" "That you're Ethan's father-in-law with money to spend, but Morrison's smart. He's wondering if there's more to it." "Good. Let him wonder." "There's something else. Ethan's been making calls to his lawyers, lots of them, and he's been moving money around, covering tracks. He knows something's coming. He suspects, but he doesn't know what. That's making him careless." Wednesday, Taryn called in tears. "Dad, we had a fight, a real one. He accused me of turning you against him, of plotting something. I denied everything, but he doesn't believe me." "Did he threaten you?" "No, but he's watching me constantly. He went through my phone, my computer. He's looking for evidence." "Will he find any?" "No, I was careful. But Dad, I'm scared. He's different now, colder. That's the real Ethan. The mask is slipping. What if he figures out what we're doing before we're ready? Then we move faster." I called Blackwood immediately. "We need to accelerate. Where are we on Morrison?" "Close. I have a source inside Morrison Tech. They're willing to provide documents about the insider trading, but they want immunity from prosecution." "Can you arrange that?" "Working on it. Give me 3 days." "You have 2. Friday evening, I received a dinner invitation. From Ethan, at his home. I showed the text to Blackwood. "Don't go," he said. "It's a trap." "Of course it's a trap. That's why I'm going." "Victor, he wants to confront me on his territory. Let him. I need to see how far gone he is. Take your phone. Keep it recording." Saturday night, I drove to Ethan and Taryn's house. A modern mansion in the hills, all glass and steel, beautiful and cold. Ethan answered the door himself. He wore casual clothes, but his smile was predatory. "Victor, thanks for coming." "Thanks for the invitation." The house was empty. No staff, no Taryn. "Where's my daughter?" "Shopping. I thought we could talk." Man to man. He led me to his study. Expensive furniture, walls lined with books he'd probably never read. He poured 2 glasses of scotch, handed me one. "To family," he said. We drank. The scotch was excellent and probably poisoned, metaphorically at least. Ethan sat behind his desk. Power position. "I've been thinking about our conversation at the gala, about foundations and structures." "Have you?" "You were trying to tell me something. I think it's time we spoke directly." He leaned forward. "What do you want, Victor?" "I want my daughter to be happy." "She is happy." "Is she?" His eyes narrowed. "What has she told you?" "Nothing. I have eyes. I can see when someone's pretending." "Marriages have adjustments. We're still newlyweds." "You've been married 3 years. 2 years, 7 months. You're counting." He smiled without warmth. "I pay attention to details, like I've noticed you paying attention to my business associates, my meetings, my investments." Public events? Public information? Nothing's public with you, Victor. You're digging, investigating. Why? Concerned father, making sure my daughter married the right man. And? I'm still deciding. He stood abruptly, walked to the window. Let me save you some time. I'm exactly who I appear to be. Successful, driven, devoted to your daughter. Whatever doubts you have are misplaced. Then you have nothing to worry about. Don't I? Because it seems like you're trying to undermine me. Talking to Morrison, to my business partners, asking questions that make people doubt our relationship. Are you asking me to stop? I'm telling you to stop. I set down my glass. Or what? The mask cracked. Real anger flashed across his face. Or you'll regret it. I've worked too hard to let anyone destroy what I've built. Including your marriage? My marriage is none of your business. My daughter is completely my business. We stood there, the pretense gone. Two men who understood exactly where they stood. You should leave, Ethan said quietly. I agree. At the door, he grabbed my arm. One more thing. Stay away from Taryn. Your visits upset her. She asked me to visit. She's confused, all the wedding stress. She doesn't know what she wants. I pulled my arm free. I think she knows exactly what she wants, and it's not you. I left before he could respond. In my car, my hand shook with adrenaline. The recording app on my phone had captured everything. Blackwood was right. Ethan was explosive, dangerous. But danger worked both ways. Sunday morning, Taryn showed up at my hotel room. He told me about last night. He said you threatened him. He's lying. I know, but Dad, he's spiraling. He's been on the phone constantly yelling at people. Something's happening with his business. What kind of something? I don't know, but he's panicking. My phone rang. Blackwood. We have it. Morrison's inside source came through. Documents proving insider trading, market manipulation, everything. And Victor? Ethan's name is all over them. Send them to me. Already done, but there's a problem. Morrison found out about the leak. He's covering his tracks, might tip off Ethan. Then we move now. Today. I looked at Taryn. Sweetheart, I need you to trust me. Can you do that? What's happening? The end. One way or another. Sunday afternoon, I sat in my hotel room with Taryn and Rylan Blackwood. Documents spread across the desk, the evidence of Ethan's crimes laid bare. This is everything? Taryn asked, her voice small. Everything, Blackwood confirmed. Financial fraud, insider trading, embezzlement from your mother's estate, enough to destroy him. When do we go to the police? Not yet, I said. Police investigations take time. Lawyers get involved. Ethan could tie this up in court for years. We need to force his hand first. How? By making him confess, publicly. Blackwood raised an eyebrow. That's ambitious. It's necessary. We expose him, then hand everything to the authorities. Clean, fast, irreversible. How do we make him confess? Taryn asked. The charity dinner Tuesday night. Morrison Tech annual fundraiser. Every major player in the industry will be there, including press. We confront Ethan with the evidence in front of everyone. He'll either admit it or lie. Either way, we win. He'll lie, Taryn said. Maybe, but liars get defensive. They make mistakes. And we'll have documentation to back up every accusation. Blackwood nodded slowly. It could work, but it's risky. If Ethan suspects anything beforehand, he'll prepare. Bring his own lawyers. Control the narrative. Then we don't give him time to prepare. We ambush him. Taryn looked at me with something like fear. Dad, this will destroy everything. His career, his reputation. Are you ready for that? Are you? She thought about it, then nodded. Yes, I want my life back. We spent the rest of Sunday preparing. Blackwood compiled the evidence into a presentation. Taryn contacted key people who needed to be at the dinner. I rehearsed what I'd say, how I'd say it. Monday, I met with Morrison privately. His office was downtown, views of the harbor. Victor, to what do I owe this surprise? I need to talk to you about Ethan Lawson. His expression shifted. What about him? I laid out copies of the documents. He's been using insider information from your company to manipulate markets. These trades, these investments, they're all based on confidential information he shouldn't have. Morrison's face went pale. He picked up the documents, read quickly. Where did you get these? Does it matter? It matters because if these are real, my company is liable. The SEC will investigate. We could face massive fines, even criminal charges. Unless you cooperate, turn over evidence, testify about Ethan's activities, you were manipulated too. You can claim ignorance. I can't just throw my business partner under the bus. He's already thrown you. These documents prove he's been operating independently, using your company's name without authorization. You're the victim here, Gerald. Act like it. He sat heavily in his chair. What do you want from me? Tomorrow night's dinner. I'm going to expose Ethan for what he is. I need you to back me up. Confirm the documents are legitimate. Show them that you're just as betrayed as they are. That's career ending. No, it's survival. Ethan falls on his own, or he drags you down with him. Your choice. Morrison stared at the documents for a long moment. Finally, he nodded. Tomorrow night. But Victor, you better be right about this. I am. Monday evening, Ethan called me. Victor, we need to talk. About? I know you met with Morrison today. What did you tell him? Business matters. What business matters? Ask him. Silence. Then, you're making a serious mistake. Whatever you think you know, you're wrong. Am I? I'm trying to be reasonable here, but if you keep interfering, I'll have no choice but to protect myself. Protect yourself how? Legal action. Against you, against Taryn. I have lawyers who specialize in this. In what? Covering up fraud? Another silence. Be careful, Victor. Very careful. He hung up. I immediately called Taryn. He knows something's coming. Don't go home tonight. Stay with Rhea. What about tomorrow? Tomorrow you show up at that dinner with your head high. You're the victim here. Remember that. I'm scared. I know. But this ends tomorrow, one way or another. Tuesday crawled by. I spent the day reviewing the presentation, going over every detail with Blackwood. At 4 p.m., we did a final check. Everything's ready, Blackwood confirmed. Documents uploaded to the venue's AV system. I'll control the presentation remotely. When you give the signal, the evidence goes up on screen. And Morrison? He'll be there, I confirmed with his assistant. Then we're set. 6 p.m. The Morrison Tech Annual Fundraiser. Black tie, 500 guests, media coverage. I arrived early, positioned myself near the stage. Blackwood was in the AV booth. Taryn came with Rhea, dressed elegantly, her face determined. Ethan arrived at 7, greeting people, playing the charming host. He saw me and his smile froze. He whispered something to Taryn. She pulled away from him, joined Rhea instead. The dinner portion lasted an hour. Speeches, presentations, charity announcements. Morrison took the stage, thanked everyone for their support. Standard corporate rhetoric. Then he said, Before we conclude, there's a matter that needs addressing. Victor Hayes, Taryn's father, has requested time to speak. It concerns the integrity of our business practices. The room went silent. Ethan stood abruptly. Morrison gestured to me. Victor? I walked to the stage. 500 faces watched. Cameras recorded. This was it. Thank you, Gerald. And thank you all for your time. I looked directly at Ethan. 3 weeks ago, my daughter asked for my help. She'd discovered that her husband had been stealing from her, moving money, manipulating accounts, using her family's assets for his personal gain. Murmuring in the crowd. Ethan's face went white. I didn't believe it at first. Ethan Lawson seemed like an upstanding man. But I investigated, and what I found was worse than fraud. I nodded to Blackwood. The screens lit up with documents. These are bank statements showing transfers from my late wife's estate into offshore accounts controlled by Ethan. $3 million, moved without my daughter's knowledge or consent. The crowd erupted. Ethan started toward the stage. Security stopped him. These emails show Ethan coordinating with business partners to manipulate stock prices using insider information. And these documents prove he attempted similar schemes with a previous fiancée, Caroline Mitchell, before moving on to my daughter. This is slander, Ethan shouted. Lies! Is it? Gerald, are these documents from your company? Morrison stood, his face grave. They are, and I had no knowledge of these activities until yesterday. Ethan Lawson has been operating without authorization, using Morrison Tech's resources for illegal activities. The room exploded. Journalists rushed forward. Cameras flashed. Ethan tried to speak, but his voice was drowned out. I have turned all evidence over to the Securities and Exchange Commission and local law enforcement, I continued. Additionally, my daughter is filing for divorce and will be seeking full restitution of stolen assets. Taryn stood. Cameras turned to her. She looked directly at Ethan. I want everyone to know that I was manipulated into this marriage. Ethan Lawson is not who he claims to be. He's a liar, a thief, and I'm done protecting him. Security was escorting Ethan out. He was shouting, threatening lawsuits, claiming innocence, but his voice faded as they removed him from the building. The room was chaos. Morrison was fielding questions. Journalists were calling their editors. Business partners were checking their own accounts. I stepped off the stage. Taryn met me, tears streaming down her face. "It's over," she whispered. "It's over." The fallout was immediate and catastrophic. By Wednesday morning, Ethan's face was on every news outlet. Tech millionaire accused of fraud. Inside the Lawson scandal. How one man fooled Silicon Valley. The SEC launched a formal investigation. Local police seized Ethan's financial records. Business partners scrambled to distance themselves. Within 48 hours, his entire empire was crumbling. I sat in my hotel room, watching the news coverage. Ryland Blackwood was with me. "Morrison's cooperating fully," he reported. "Handed over everything. His lawyers are claiming he was a victim, too. Might actually work." "And Ethan?" "Lawyered up. Not talking. But it doesn't matter. The evidence is overwhelming." My phone rang. Detective Sarah Chen from the Financial Crimes Unit. "Mr. Hayes, we need your full statement. Today, if possible." "Of course. When and where?" "Downtown station, 2 p.m. Bring all documentation." I spent 3 hours at the police station, walking detectives through everything we'd found. They recorded my statement, copied all files, assured me they had enough for multiple charges. "How long until arrest?" I asked. "Warrants being processed. Within a week. Maybe sooner if he tries to flee." I went back to the hotel. Taryn was waiting in the lobby. "Can we talk?" We went to my room. She looked exhausted, but relieved. "My lawyer says the divorce will be fast. With the criminal charges, Ethan won't fight it. He can't afford the attention." "What about your assets?" "Being recovered. Accounts frozen. The courts will sort it out." "But Dad, there's something else." "What?" "Thomas. He wants to see me. Now that everything's public, there's no reason to hide." "Do you want to see him?" She smiled. "More than anything. But I wanted your permission first." "Sweetheart, you don't need my permission." "I know, but it matters to me." I hugged her. "Be happy. That's all I've ever wanted." She left to meet Thomas. I sat alone, feeling the weight lift. 3 weeks ago, my daughter had slipped me a note asking for help. Now she was free. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Victor." Ethan's voice, barely controlled fury. "You shouldn't be calling me. You destroyed everything. My business, my reputation, my life. For what? Because Taryn got cold feet? Because you're a criminal. Because you hurt my daughter. I gave her everything. A life most people dream of. You gave her a prison. This isn't over. I'll fight every charge. I'll prove you fabricated evidence. I'll sue you for defamation. Try. The truth tends to win eventually." "Truth?" He laughed bitterly. "You self-righteous hypocrite. You abandoned your daughter for years. Where were you when she needed you, building your precious buildings? And now you show up, play hero, destroy her marriage. I saved her from you. You ruined her. She'll be connected to this scandal forever. Every future relationship, every job interview, people will remember she was married to the fraud. You didn't save her, you branded her." The line went silent. I sat there, his words echoing. Was he right? Had I made things worse? No. Taryn had asked for help. Staying trapped would have been worse. Ethan was lashing out, trying to make me doubt. Classic manipulation. I deleted the call log and blocked the number. Thursday, Ethan was arrested. Cameras caught him being led out of his mansion in handcuffs. He didn't resist, didn't speak, just stared straight ahead, his perfect facade finally shattered. Bail was set at $5 million. He posted it within hours. But house arrest, ankle monitor, passport surrendered. He wasn't going anywhere. Friday, I met with Taryn and her lawyer to discuss asset recovery. Most of what Ethan had stolen could be traced and returned. The offshore accounts were trickier, but even those would eventually be accessed. "How long?" Taryn asked. 6 months, maybe a year, but you'll get it back." "And the house?" "It's in your name. He can't touch it." Saturday, Rhea hosted a small dinner. Just Taryn, Thomas, Blackwood, and me. A celebration of sorts. Thomas was everything Taryn had described. Intelligent, kind, clearly devoted to her. They sat close, holding hands, speaking in the shorthand of people who knew each other deeply. "Thank you," Thomas said to me at one point, "for giving her this chance. I didn't give it. She earned it. Still, you could have refused to help. A lot of fathers would have. Then they'd be cowards." After dinner, Blackwood and I stood on Rhea's balcony, whiskey in hand. "You did good work," I said. "We both did. But Victor, can I ask something?" "Go ahead." Was this about saving Taryn or punishing Ethan? I thought about it. Both. Is that wrong? No, just honest. He clinked his glass against mine. What now? Back to Seattle? Eventually. But I think I'll stay a while. Spend time with my daughter. Make up for lost years. She'd like that. Inside, Taryn laughed at something Thomas said. The sound was pure and happy. I hadn't heard her laugh like that in years. This is what victory looked like. Not dramatic, not explosive, just quiet peace. Sunday, I got a call from Detective Chen. Mr. Hayes, wanted to update you. Ethan Lawson's trial date is set. 3 months. Prosecution's confident. What are the charges? Securities fraud, embezzlement, identity theft, money laundering. Could be looking at 20 years. Will he take a plea? His lawyers are discussing it. But between you and me, his ego won't let him admit guilt. He'll go to trial. Then we'll testify. Count on it. After she hung up, I looked out at the ocean. The water was calm today, reflecting blue sky. Somewhere out there, Ethan was trapped in his house, watching his life disintegrate. Part of me felt sympathy. Mostly I felt satisfaction. He'd preyed on vulnerable women, stolen their assets, destroyed their confidence. He'd done it systematically, carefully, thinking himself untouchable. But everyone's touchable. Everyone has weaknesses. You just have to find them. 3 months passed quickly. I moved out of the hotel, rented a condo near Taryn. We had dinner twice a week. I met Thomas's family, watched Taryn slowly become herself again, confident, happy, free. The trial started in November. I testified on day 3. The courtroom was packed. Media, spectators. Ethan's family looking shell-shocked. Ethan sat at the defense table in an expensive suit, face impassive. When I took the stand, our eyes met. He looked older, harder, beaten. The prosecutor walked me through everything. The note, the investigation, the evidence, the public confrontation. And why did you feel the need to expose Mr. Lawson publicly rather than going directly to authorities? Because he'd been manipulating people for years, using charm and lies to control them. I wanted everyone to see who he really was. No filters, no spin. Objection, speculation. Sustained. But the point was made. Cross-examination was brutal. Ethan's lawyer tried to paint me as vindictive, claimed I'd fabricated evidence because I never approved of the marriage. Isn't it true you barely knew your daughter before this? I knew her well enough to see she was trapped. Or did you see an opportunity to control her life, to break up a marriage you didn't approve of? The evidence speaks for itself. Everything I found was real. Allegedly real. We'll be challenging the authenticity of those documents. Good luck with that. Taryn testified on day 5. She was calm, composed, devastating. Described the manipulation, the control, the financial abuse. When she finished, several jurors were wiping their eyes. Ethan's defense was weak. Character witnesses who'd only known his public persona, claims that the accounting was complex but legal, accusations that Taryn and I had conspired to frame him. The prosecution's rebuttal destroyed it all, document after document, expert testimony, Caroline Mitchell's video deposition. On day 12, closing arguments. The prosecutor was eloquent. Ethan Lawson presented himself as a successful businessman. In reality, he was a con artist who targeted wealthy women, stole their assets, and abandoned them when they became inconvenient. The evidence is overwhelming. The defendant is guilty on all counts. The defense tried. My client made mistakes, but mistakes aren't crimes. The prosecution has taken legitimate business dealings and twisted them into something sinister. Don't let emotion cloud your judgment. The jury deliberated for 6 hours, guilty, all counts. Ethan's face remained blank, but his hands shook as the bailiff led him away. Bail revoked, remanded to custody pending sentencing. Outside the courthouse, media swarmed us. Taryn read a brief statement. Justice was served today, not just for me, but for every woman Ethan Lawson manipulated. I'm grateful to my father, to the investigators, to everyone who believed us. Now I'm ready to move forward. We didn't take questions. Just walked to the car, got in, drove away. How do you feel? I asked. Free, she said simply. Sentencing was scheduled for December. We didn't attend. Didn't need to. The prosecutor called with the result. 18 years. No parole eligibility for 12. How'd he react? Broke down crying. Asked if his family was there. They weren't. After hanging up, I sat on my balcony watching the sunset. 18 years. Ethan would be 44 when he got out. Middle-aged, reputation destroyed, career gone. Was it enough? Was it too much? I didn't know, but it was done. Christmas came. Taryn and Thomas invited me to their new apartment. Small, cozy, filled with laughter. Rhea was there. Blackwood, a few friends. We ate good food, told stories, avoided mention of Ethan. He was the past. This was the future. Dad? Taryn pulled me aside. Thomas and I are moving to New York. He has a job opportunity. Fresh start. Good, that's good. You could come visit. Maybe even relocate. I know you're retired, but New York has great architecture firms, consulting work. Maybe. Let's see how it goes. She hugged me. Thank you for everything. For fighting for me when I couldn't fight for myself. That's what fathers do. Not all of them. January. I helped Taryn and Thomas pack. Watched them drive away toward their new life. Then I stood in my empty condo wondering what came next. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Victor Hayes? Yes? This is Martin Reeves. I'm producing a documentary about financial fraud, specifically the Ethan Lawson case. Would you be interested in participating? No, thank you. It would be a chance to tell your side, show people how you uncovered the truth. People already know. The trial did that. But your personal story, the father saving his daughter, it's compelling. It's private. I hung up. There would be others, reporters, producers, people wanting to capitalize on our pain. But I'd given enough. The truth was out. Justice was served. That had to be sufficient. February. I sold the condo, packed my car, drove back to Seattle. The city felt familiar and foreign. I'd been gone 6 months. It felt like years. My old office welcomed me back for consulting work. Light projects, nothing demanding. It was enough to fill my days, but nights were different. I'd sit in my apartment, windows overlooking the sound, thinking about Taryn, about Catherine, about the choices we make that define us. I'd been an absent father, too focused on buildings, structures, things that lasted. I'd missed my daughter's childhood, her struggles, her growth. Then she asked for help, and I gave it, relentlessly, fully. Did that make up for the years of absence? Did it balance the scales? I didn't know. But when Taryn called every Sunday telling me about her life with Thomas, her voice full of happiness, that felt like redemption. Small, incomplete, but real. March brought news. Ethan's appeals were denied. His sentence was final. He was transferred to a federal facility in Colorado. Far from California, far from the life he'd built. I didn't feel triumphant, just tired. April. A letter arrived. Prison postmark. I almost threw it away, but curiosity won. Victor, you were right. About everything. I was a fraud. I hurt people. I deserve this. But you were wrong, too. You think you saved Taryn. You didn't. You just destroyed her marriage. Maybe I was manipulative. Maybe I was controlling. But I never stopped her from being happy. You did that, by making her doubt, by making her feel guilty for choices she made freely. You wanted revenge. You got it. I hope it was worth the cost. Ethan. I read it twice, then burned it. His words were poison, designed to make me doubt, to insert guilt where there was none. Taryn had asked for help. I'd helped. That was all. But at night, his words echoed. You just destroyed her marriage. No, I'd destroyed a prison disguised as a marriage. You made her doubt. I'd shown her truth she'd already suspected. I hope it was worth the cost. It was. It had to be. May. Taryn called with news. Dad, Thomas proposed. We're getting married next spring. Will you walk me down the aisle? Of course. And Dad, I'm happy. Really, truly happy. You gave me that. Never doubt it. After hanging up, I stood at my window, watching rain fall on the city. Down below, people hurried through streets, living their lives, fighting their battles. Somewhere, Ethan sat in a cell, paying for his crimes. Somewhere, Taryn planned a wedding to a man who loved her, and here I was, in between. Not hero, not villain. Just a father who'd done what he thought was right. Was it enough? Time would tell. June brought summer heat. I accepted a consulting project in San Francisco, close enough to visit Taryn on weekends. The work was engaging, a museum redesign, complex, challenging, rewarding. I threw myself into it. Weekends, I drove to New York, watched Taryn and Thomas build their life, helped paint their apartment, attended their engagement party, stood beside them at family dinners. This was healing. Slow, imperfect, but real. July. Rhea called. Victor? Caroline Mitchell reached out. She's writing a book about her experience with Ethan, asked if you'd contribute. What did you tell her? That I'd pass along the message. I thought about it. Another chance to rehash the past. Tell her no, but tell her I'm glad she's found her voice. Will do. How are you holding up? Better every day? Good. Taryn's been asking about you. She worries. Tell her not to. I'm fine. August. The documentary aired. I watched it alone in my apartment. They interviewed everyone else, so Taryn, Thomas, Blackwood, Morrison, Caroline, even Ethan's former partners. The narrative was simple. Good father saves manipulated daughter from evil husband. I declined a reporter's call during the credits. Turned off my phone. September. I returned to Seattle. The project was done. My apartment felt empty but familiar. I started taking long walks, relearning my city. One afternoon, at a coffee shop, someone recognized me. You're Victor Hayes, the architect who exposed Ethan Lawson. I am. That was brave, what you did for your daughter. I just helped family. Still, not many people would have fought that hard. After they left, I sat there, coffee cooling, watching the rain. October brought Taryn's birthday. I flew to New York, brought her favorite cake. We celebrated with Thomas, friends, laughter. She looked radiant, happy. Ethan's shadow finally lifted. Dad, she said as we stepped onto the balcony. Thank you for everything. You don't need to keep thanking me. I do. You gave me my life back. We stood there, father and daughter, watching the city lights. November. Thanksgiving in New York. Taryn's apartment overflowed with people, Thomas's family, friends, laughter. I watched Taryn move through the crowd, confident, happy. Her smile was everything. Thomas's father approached me, extended his hand. Victor, good to see you again. Likewise. My son's lucky, getting Taryn, and getting you as family. I'm the lucky one. December, back in Seattle. Winter rain. Dark afternoons, long nights. I started designing again. Not for clients, for myself. Dream projects. Buildings that existed only in my imagination. A library with impossible curves. A museum that seemed to float. A bridge that defied conventional engineering. It felt good, creative, purposeful. The holidays passed quietly. I video called Taryn on Christmas. Watched her and Thomas exchange gifts. Felt the warmth through the screen. January. New year, new beginning. Taryn called with wedding details. Venue, guest list, schedule, colors, flowers, music. I listened, took notes, promised to be there early. Dad, I want you to give a speech at the reception. Are you sure? Absolutely. You're the reason I'm here. The reason I can do this? All right, I'll prepare something. Just speak from the heart. That's all I need. February. Cold winds, clear skies. I worked on my speech. Wrote, rewrote, practiced. What do you say when your daughter finally gets her happy ending? March. I flew to New York a week before the wedding. Helped with last-minute preparations, met extended family, stood for tuxedo fittings. The city buzzed with energy. Spring was coming. The rehearsal dinner was small, intimate. Thomas's family welcomed me warmly. To Victor, Thomas's father raised a glass. For protecting family, for doing what needed to be done, for showing us all what a father should be. Everyone drank. I felt the weight of their gratitude and respect. Later, Thomas pulled me aside. I'll take care of her, I promise. I know you will. And I'll never give you reason to come after me. He smiled, but his eyes were serious. Just love her. That's all I ask. Every day, for the rest of my life. We shook hands. An understanding passed between us. Wedding day, clear sky, perfect weather. The venue was elegant, overlooking Central Park. I waited in the preparation room with Taryn. She looked stunning. White dress, simple veil, radiant smile. Ready? I asked. So ready? No doubts? None. This is right, Dad. Then let's not keep him waiting. We walked down the aisle, slowly, savoring every step. At the altar, Thomas stood tall, eyes locked on Taryn. I placed her hand in his, stepped back, found my seat in the front row. They exchanged vows, promises of forever, of love. When the officiant said, "You may kiss the bride," Thomas kissed her tenderly. Everyone applauded. The couple walked back down the aisle as husband and wife. The reception was joyful, dancing, speeches, celebration. During dinner, I stood to give my toast. The room quieted. I promised to protect Taryn. For years I failed, but when she asked for help, I kept that promise. I raised my glass. Today, I'm watching her claim the life she always deserved. Thomas, you're getting an extraordinary woman. Take care of her heart. Everyone drank. Taryn crossed to me, hugged me tight. I love you, Dad. I love you too. The father-daughter dance. We moved across the floor. Taryn rested her head on my shoulder. Thank you for fighting for me, she whispered. Always. The song ended. Thomas cut in. I stepped aside, watching them dance. Rhea joined me. You did good, Victor. We all did. No, you. You could have stayed in Seattle. But you came, you fought, you won. She asked. I answered. That's what family does. The reception continued. More joy, more celebration. I moved through the crowd, smiling for the first time in years. As evening turned to night, the party showed no signs of slowing. The band played swing music. I stepped outside onto the terrace. The city sprawled below. My phone buzzed. A message from Rylan Blackwood. Saw the wedding photos. Congratulations. I typed back, we all did. Thank you for everything. His response came quickly. Anytime. That's what partners do. I looked back inside. Taryn and Thomas danced. This was victory. The door opened. Taryn stepped out. You okay out here? Perfect. She hugged me tighter. That would be amazing. Thomas appeared. Sorry to interrupt, but they're about to cut the cake. We're coming. We walked back inside. Together. Family. I raised my glass in a silent toast. To second chances. To fighting for family. The glass clinked against nothing. Final. Victorious.